Hi, this is Misty with Above and I'm coming to you today with another one in our series, Have You Got a Minute? And we received a question that was sent in by one of our followers. And the question was, how do I calm down and take meaningful action when I'm completely overwhelmed? And my advice is going to seem a bit counterintuitive. It's kind of like when you're driving and you start hydroplaning. You might remember this from your driving lessons, and they tell you to steer into the skid. It's completely counterintuitive, but when you are overwhelmed and you have pressure, time constraints, and a load of stuff piling up, the first thing that you have to do is slow down. And that is probably the most difficult step. From here on out, it gets a little bit easier. And what I'm going to suggest may seem very simple, but there's a nuance to it. I think that we probably have all learned through different productivity methods the art of making action lists, mind mapping, capturing your thoughts, doing the brain dump of all the things. And that is a good exercise that can relieve stress, but I think what happens all too often, particularly when we're in roles where we've got big outcomes that we have to chase and deliverables that we need to get over the line. Oftentimes when I make an action list like that, it's a lot of activities, a lot of to-dos, a lot of actions that need to be taken. And I will set off to take those actions, but they don't necessarily add up to the accomplishment of outcomes. And then I end up getting into more of a tailspin because I've spent a lot of time doing things, but I haven't actually completed anything that's meaningful. And so what I want to recommend today is that instead of an action list, that you create an outcome list. And I prefer to do this in a mind map rather than a linear list. That's just how my brain works. But however you prefer to capture it, what you want to do is you want to write down what are the big outcomes that are at the end of all of the things that you have to get done. So maybe you have a huge project that is around a product that you need to accomplish. Maybe you have a significant piece of work in preparation for budgeting meeting. What's the outcome that you're ultimately accountable for delivering? So put the different outcomes and make those your big buckets, if you will, or make those your big headers on your list. Then under each one of those, what you want to capture is the list of action items that are outstanding, the things that are hanging over your head that need to get done in order to accomplish that outcome. So capture those underneath each one of your outcome list. What you're going to do next is you're going to pick an outcome to focus on first. Ideally the one that's the most pressing or the one that's giving you the most triggers. And you can actually feel physiologically when you complete a list like this and you sit back and you read it, if you pay attention to your body, when you look at the different buckets on the list, you'll have a physiological reaction quite often to the one that's your biggest trigger. That's the one that is probably creating the most stress for you. Start there. Start there. And what you want to do then is you want to look at the action items underneath that outcome. And my recommendation, if you can, is to start with the smallest thing on that list that would have the biggest impact. So the first thing you want to do is find the smallest thing. Maybe there's a few things that are just small little actions that you could take, but they'll actually give you some momentum going forward. Do those first. Then go to the next smallest thing that could get you some momentum going forward. And if you do that and stay in that one outcome bucket to the extent that you can, you'll find that actually you're going to make progress. The momentum that you're going to get from those little steps is going to give you confidence. It's going to give you a bit of a breather. And then if you in fact started with your most painful outcome area, the one that's created the most stress for you, and you can accomplish that, then you're going to see that you're going to get some really fantastic momentum against tackling the others. So, takeaways for today: slow down to go fast, steer into that skid when you're overwhelmed, and let that be your mantra. I have to slow down to go fast. have to slow down to go fast, and outcome versus action. So focusing on the outcomes first, then moving on to actions. I think that you're going to see that it's going to make a big difference and hopefully help you tackle the overwhelm. Thanks for tuning in. You can find us at aboveand.com. You can find us at Above And on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We love to get your questions. This was a question sent in by one of you. We really appreciate it. Grateful to all of you for following along and for your engagement. Have a great day.